Hi, everyone. My name is Setrog from Finale. Thanks for joining today as we talk about some of the exciting updates to the platform. We heard loud and clear your requests for more reordering and replenishment features. That's why we worked hard on these updates. Today, Mike will walk us through the reordering and replenishment tools and answer any pressing questions you have. Please feel free to leave your questions below, and at the end, if we have any time, we'll address them. Later, you'll get a recording of this webinar, or you can rewatch it on our YouTube channel. If you are a current Finale user, you can schedule a personal training session to learn more about these tools and features and how they can be tailored to your business. You can use the link, which I'll put below in just a minute. All right, you can take it away now, Mike. Thanks.
All right. Hopefully, thank you so much for that intro. So we're going to keep this kind of casual. Hopefully, you're going to get enough out of this to see all the new features. Let me share my screen to begin with here for you guys. All right. Hopefully, you're able to see my screen. We're just going to go into my demo account here. I'll give you a bonus. Here's a bonus right off the bat. The purpose of this screen or this webinar is to kind of show off the latest two new features, the reordering. But here's a bonus. All right. So this went out a couple of days ago. Probably a lot of people don't know. Hit the blue gear, by the way. Hit the my profile, by the way. This is a per user, not a per account setting. And make sure you know that you have two new options down here, list screen display. You can actually change this to make all your list screens have alternating colors on them. And you can also change the row height. So that's a tip. Now back to the normal scheduled event. So what we're here to do is to talk about the new reordering. Everybody should be kind of familiar with the old one. We've renamed it, and we renamed it Reorder Legacy. So let's kind of revisit the Reorder Legacy. So kind of get your bearings on what it is the old reorder system looked like so that we can kind of compare it to the new. Let me go back to my home screen. What we're going to be talking about today, though, is the new reorder screen, which is here under reorder. The old one is under legacy. And of course, we want to pay attention to the replenishment feature. Why do you use replenishment? Replenishment is kind of like reordering, but you're really just moving it from your account or your warehouse to, let's say, another warehouse. Another warehouse is, East Coast, West Coast, or another city, or this could really be most people are going to be using this is to take product from their warehouse and move it to Amazon. So to replenish Amazon, that's going to be the key reason for using replenishment. But let's see if I can get my reorder screen back up. So now that we see, let's pay attention to the old reorder screen. So if anybody is used to using the old reorder screen, it's this antiquated gray thing. How did you use it? Well, in order to use reordering, you needed to establish reorder points. So remember, to use either one of these topics, make sure, or these new features, make sure you have enabled reorder points, either manual reorder points or the automated ones by using sales velocity. But if you look on my screen here, this is the old screen. So it's telling me that I've got two products and I can get two or three different products here that need to be reordered. And my primary supplier is Daffy Duck. And I've got two warehouses and the list of products that I need to reorder. So they're just kind of giving you the basic information of what I should be doing. The old screen, you could filter to a location, or you're looking at all locations. So that's the only thing you could do in the old one. So if I wanted to just look at what my Texas warehouse needs, I could filter to Texas. I could filter based on any sort of free text. I could filter based on a category, a manufacturer, to kind of limit what it is I needed to, order. But I could also filter to a specific one. Let's say I just wanted to see the Daffy Duck. So old method of reordering, and then I got to create a PO. Now, if you press the create PO button, it didn't really stop and ask you anything. It would just create the PO, drop you on the PO screen kind of in a draft mode, and then you execute it from there. So that's the old reorder workflow. Let's look at the new reorder workflow. So the new reorder workflow is going to involve the reorder screen here. So when we go to this screen is using the latest screen technology that's in Finale inventory. And if you haven't noticed how much work we've been putting in, the new screens have a lot more power to them. So let me bring that to your attention. So a couple of things about this new screen. One, you get more than one view. So you notice that you could customize your reorder screen. That means you could come up here and create yourself different ways or different saved things for different reordering workflows. So just remember that. So now this screen, you can do that too. The other thing is, if you notice, these screens have the ability to stack values. So notice I'm stacking supplier, one, and the price on top of each other in one column, whereas the old screen, it would take up two columns. And if you notice also on this screen, we have the velocity being shown to you and the number of sales in two different columns. And we're stacking them on top of each other, giving you more information on a skinnier screen to make you more efficient. So these are some of the new things that the new screens can do. But let's see if we can get the same kind of profile as we saw on the other one. So I'm going to flip to my Texas warehouse. So now you can see the difference. You can see the difference between my new screen and my old screen. So the old screen didn't have pictures on it. You didn't get the stacked ability here. So notice how everything is now more vibrant. If you notice, mine is displaying alternate colors. So one row is white, one row is gray. That's the new feature with you being able to choose alternating colors. You can see how we're stacking a lot of information in a very small spot so I can see more information to make decisions. So the new reorder screen functions similar to the old screen. I've got two products here. If I want all these products to be reordered, then I can hit the selection box, and then I'm able to create a purchase order from just that. So it's very easy. I could either select the ones I want to make an order for, select them all, and it's going to create a purchase order. Now, of course, the other features that are here is on this screen is you could filter to only the suppliers that you want to create an order for. So I can do the same thing here. I could search for maybe only things that I'm ordering from Daffy Duck, and then I would only see those. So this feature is still here. The category filterization is still here. The manufacturer filter is now over in here. But notice something else is here. So now that we're kind of talking about what's different, you can do more things. You can filter more than you could on the old screen. So one of the things I would like to bring to your attention is notice how there is something here that you could exclude. You can now exclude certain areas of your warehouse from consideration. And I'll show you where we're going to use that here in a minute, but that's an advanced feature. The other thing you need to know about this is one of the biggest complaints of the old reorder screen was it only showed you what we thought you needed to be reordered, and that's it. So what if you have other products that are only one unit from needing to be reordered, and you're placing an order today, and it would have been nice to know that you should have ordered that other product because there was only one unit from being away. You couldn't see that with the old reorder screen, but now you can because we have a quantity filter. So here on the screen now, we're showing you by default quantity to order is greater than one. But now you're able to see maybe all your products. And now you can see whether they need to be reordered or not. So now you have the ability to scan down these products and go, you know what? This one's close to needing to be reordered. It's only 9 away. So maybe I want to go ahead and add this to the order, and you can. So you could add this in addition to the other two items now so that when you create the purchase order, you didn't miss out on an opportunity to place that order. So that's going to be the key here, is using the quantity filter to determine what do you want to order and what do you not want to order. This is awesome now. The other thing you can do is, how do you organize this list? So notice this, you could not do this on the other screen. Let me show you. So these screens are much more powerful, but I could filter by the reorder variant. So I can click and I can sort, you know, big numbers and small numbers. So I can rearrange this to make sure that I get the closest items that need to be reordered up towards the top. That's going to make it easy for you to place this order. So that's going to be very important. Now, let me show you something else. So notice all of these features combine to make it easier for you to do a reorder. But let's go back to the original picture, and I want to show you something that is kind of neat. Where would you use an exclusion? We've taught many clients and many customers to organize their warehouse, and you might have a place where you take returns. What if you just took a big return in, and Finale is looking at inventory in your warehouse, but it's returned or it's damaged, but it's just thinking that that is inventory, and it's throwing off, and it thinks that you have more of a product, but it doesn't really know that that's damaged. So it's not telling you to reorder. That's where this can come in. So I want to show you that this is where I could come into the exclusion, and I could look for my returns. So I might have a return sub area. And if I said, hey, look, exclude that, notice immediately my red t-shirts popped up. So my red t-shirts were being hidden from needing to be reordered because there's a big return sitting over in the returns area. So this is just a possible use for this feature. Okay. The other thing is, you might have something like damage in your warehouse, and you could exclude those too, and they may impact the quantity that you need to be reordering. So that's just yet another feature why you want to be using the new screen. The other thing, these new screens allow you to customize these screens. So remember, the old screen, you really can't tweak and add all the columns in the database, but since these new screens are the new technologies, you can actually come in and customize these screens. When you customize, you can actually add columns that you don't see. So you can get in and add something from the database that you normally couldn't do on the old screen because we didn't give you the ability to do it, but now you can. Also remember, we have new functionality. So meaning new functionality that you could take advantage of is the conditional formatting. So we've sent out announcements about conditional formatting. If you don't know what I mean by conditional formatting, I'm going to show you. So one of the things about conditional formatting that's available to you now is we put some conditional formatting on the main view. So if you go to your purchases screen and you use the main view, not maybe your view, but if you use the main view, you're going to see how there's a red square here. We've got logic called conditional formatting that if you forgot to put the warehouse to turn this red, that's a new conditional formatting feature that's available on all the screens, but it's also now available on the reorder screen. So you might think of like, okay, show me how this conditional formatting works. Just know that it's in the customization of the view. You go to the column you want to put conditional formatting on, you can hit edit. You can see that there is a conditional formatting feature where you can use a formula to say, if this cell does not have a value, then turn the background red. And if you get intimidated by formulas, don't worry. Remember, you can come in here and watch how it's done. There is a help article. You can have all these different teaching techniques for yourself to go watch a video. And then we also explain it to you on how conditional formulas work, how to structure a formula, and how to even add the colors and what's possible. So in the past, our screens were pretty boring. They were just white and black. But guess what? You could knock yourself out. I'm not telling you should, but you can control not only the color of the text, the background, the back shading of the text, but also the size of the text, whether it's bolded or not bolded. This is a very powerful feature that you can do in the product now. And this is available to you on the new reorder screen, not the old reorder screen. So that's just a little bit of a tip. So let's come back into, that's what I mean by, if you come to the new reorder screen, this screen can be added functionality by you to do some conditional formatting. Like you could turn rows red if you need to reorder them and green if you don't. So those are just some thoughts of what you could do from this. Now let's talk about creating a purchase order from this, because we haven't done that yet here on the reorder screen. So now if I think this is what I want to reorder, I could just select them all. Your next choice is things you couldn't do in the old screen. You couldn't export. There was a button here to export, so that's good. The other thing you can do here is you can create a purchase order. Now, instead of just go ahead and creating the purchase order, we pause. And now you have to make a choice. So you can define the system generated order ID. So you can either just use the next sequential order, or you can make up your own purchase order now before we create the order. So that's two options for you. Most of the time you were using just a system generated, but you can also now select which warehouse you want this purchase order to go to. Before, it just kind of defaulted to a default warehouse. But now you have a choice before the PO is created to choose which warehouse you want to make this purchase go to. That's another feature. And then, of course, you could swap the supplier here before we create the PO. So now let's just take this, and I'm going to create the purchase order for all of these products. It creates it, and I can go straight to that PO by hitting open. So now it's just dropped me on the PO. From here, it's pretty much the same as what it was before. A couple of things is different. So everything is pre-filled out. We told it to create it for Daffy Duck. It has put all the products with the order quantities that the screen had told you we suggest you are. The biggest difference here is we didn't, when we come to this purchase order, it's not already in edit mode, which means if you notice it's gray, but you see it is in draft. So to edit this, just double click on the screen. A lot of people don't know this. If I just take my mouse and I double click on the white part, it opens it up in edit mode. Now that's the same thing as if I put it back in save mode. Did you know you can also hit the edit fields button, edit, and that opens it up in edit mode. But I always like to teach you something, double click on the screen and you go into edit mode. So we've got the PO as we created, and then here I could tweak these quantities up or down. Or of course, if I decide not to edit or order a specific one, you could exit off. So that's pretty much the new reorder screen workflow. So it's pretty easy to manipulate. You can understand kind of from this point, it's pretty much standard. I can commit to this PO. Now I'm putting it into the on order mode, and now it's a real purchase order.
Mike, thanks so much for that intro to the tool. We have a couple of good questions I wanted to put into here before we go to the next segment.
Sure.
Specifically, going from the old tool to the new features. One question we have is, does the new reorder screen have the ability to show the total cost of the PO like the legacy screen does?
Mm, Good question. It sort of. So it isn't quite as straightforward, but let's show you this. So if I go back, let's go back. I think it's a great question. So what I want to do is go back to my purchase order, and where's my PO? Can't think of the one we just created here. Um, Today is maybe this one. Okay, so let's take this PO. I'm going to take this out. Let's cancel this guy so that you can see the ramification to your question. So if I go to the new reorder screen, what it will do is notice that it is telling you it it it's a good question. I thought, okay, number one, no, it doesn't like give you a subtotal below here. So it's not going to say like the dollar for supplier one versus the dollar for supplier two. I was thinking that it did give us um, a total, but it's only giving us a total of quantity, not a value. So the answer to that is no.
Okay, next question. How can you tell what facility you need to reorder something to if you are filtering by multiple locations?
So that's a good question. So from here, the way that this view is built, so if you say, hey, I want to reorder and you want to choose two of these, so now you're kind of like saying, I want you to look at my Alabama warehouse and my Texas warehouse and determine how much I need to reorder. It's not going to be able to tell you, and it will not create two POs. It's like you're creating one PO, but you want to consider two locations requirements. So it's a very good question. You're really just going to be combining the amount that you need to be reordered, kind of look at it all as one to place one PO, but you still can only send that one PO to one warehouse. So you'll be asked when you create something, it will be create here, and then you have to make the decision. It's not smart enough to kind of say, oh, I'll create you two POs, one to this warehouse, one to that warehouse. It won't do that. Just like the other one really wouldn't do that either. Good question.
Great. And let's do one more quick question before we go to the next topic of replenishment. We have one question. It's a good one I like. When we create the PO, does it pull the inventory right away from where we are selecting it from?
So when you reorder, you're not pulling inventory. Reordering is for bringing more inventory into your business, but maybe what you're asking for is replenish. And we'll cover that next in the replenishment section. But there's no pulling of inventory with a purchase order. When you reorder, you are requesting more product coming to you. So that happens when you commit the PO so that the PO goes into what's called on order state or committed state. So that if you look right now on my red t-shirts, we don't I'm looking at red t-shirts. I can see on this screen whether there is an existing PO right here. I have zero coming inbound. These other ones have POs coming inbound because I can see them already. But the system is saying you still need more. But this one, there is no, there's no PO, there's no inbound, and I need to order the 1500. When I order this PO, if I go in and go ahead and create a purchase order, because I canceled the other one, when I create this purchase order, now I've got an order. The order is in a draft state. So we have requested to order 1,500 red shirts, but we haven't committed the purchase order yet. So if you haven't committed the purchase order, when I go into the inventory screen and I look at my stock levels, my red shirts don't have anything on order. So if I expand my red shirt here, there is no purchase orders on order because we didn't commit that PO. So if I go back to that PO, though, the one that got generated here, when I go to this PO, the second time that we have generated it, once I commit, now it's committed. So now it's on order. And a couple of tips here. Whenever you commit purchase orders, I'm going to really, really strongly suggest you put a estimated receive date. Ask your supplier, ask your vendor. They'll tell you, kind of give you a date. Put this date in. Why? It's very important for you to put the date there so that when you commit it, you're getting more value out of Finale's system so that when you look on the stock screen now, do you see it will tell you ETA 1112, the purchase order number, the supplier it's coming from, and the warehouse it's destined to. So this only happens when you commit that purchase order. That was a good question, though. So hopefully I can answer it more from the pulling side of it here next with the replenishment.
Great. Thanks so much for those answers, Mike. Let's go to replenishment now, which is a great next topic we want to hit and have time for. And again, we have a lot of questions coming in. Whatever we can answer during this time,
Yeah.
we'll follow up and answer those questions later on in the follow-up email. So, Mike, let's talk a little bit about replenishment.
All right. So replenishment, we've talked about it before for people that have been longtime customers. We sort of use the reorder screen or a reorder report to kind of talk about this is what you need to move. Well, Finale now has an official feature called replenishment. And the concept here is let me look at my origin, let me look at my destination, aka my warehouse and Amazon. And can Finale tell me what's running low at Amazon and help me create a movement of inventory from my warehouse to Amazon. So that's kind of the basis. But you could substitute your own warehouse or maybe a third party warehouse. It will work the same. So this concept is valid no matter what. So in this case, what would you do? Well, again, you'd start now from a replenishment perspective. So if you're going to replenish a warehouse, what do you need to do? You need to decide, am I going to go from warehouse one to warehouse two? So which ones are they? So tell Finale. So for that purpose, just so you know, there are some built-in replenishment screens and views in the FBA. So if you're using the new FBA features, you can access it here, but you have straight access right here. So you may not see Amazon FBA as a replenishment feature because you're not using FBA. You're not connected to FBA. But if you are connected to the new FBA and you have that active, you're automatically going to be able to have this here. But maybe you're not and you're not using FBA, you might just see replenishment main view. Okay, so just be aware of that. This screen, very much similar to Reorder, except the purpose of this screen is not to go get it from your supplier. It's for you to move it from your warehouse to another warehouse. So how would you start? Normally, you would say, what is my origin? Let's use my Texas warehouse as a basis for where I'm going to get the inventory from. And then I'm going to decide where am I going to move it to? I can move it to, let's say, Amazon. So as soon as you choose a um, a destination and an origin, Finale will start to look at the sales velocity and the reorder point rules that you've established. So Finale is going to show you the origin location information and the destination information. So if we're trying to move some material to Amazon, then right now Finale is basically looking at all your reorder points, looking at the velocity. I know what you're doing there on this product, and we're showing you, you know, 90 units a day over the last 30 days. And over the last 30 days, you've sold or had sales of 2,700 units. And yeah, I probably want to move this. I'm about to stock out at Amazon, so I need to get this order going. So this is what this is going to do. It works the same way as the reorder screen, except the purpose of this is to not order it, it's to move it, which is a transfer in Finale. Now, this is where that last question somebody asked about, when is it going to pull the product or moving it out of my warehouse to Amazon in this instance? Well, let's talk through that. So that's an excellent question. Now, notice what we're filtering. You've got more filters here. Just like the reorder screen, you can look at destination, only what needs to be moved, or you can say, I want to see things that are also there that may be close to needing to be removed. So I can see everything and I can look and say, um, I don't really feel like moving this one there now and moving more there. So I don't need to look at those. But if there was something that was close, I could see it. The other thing you need to look at is I can also filter to my origin and say, look, I can only move what I have available, right? So If I don't have it, then I can't move it. So there's a filter here that you can actually look at, you know, quantities, or I could look at other quantities. So this one needs to be removed, or this one needs to get moved at Amazon, but I don't have enough on hand. So we're using this filter. This filter kind of took it away. But you might be able to say, you know what, I know I've got enough of this, but maybe it's in a different warehouse. So maybe you'd have to rerun this scenario from a different warehouse. But now you can see how the default, you've got a lot of power here on replenishing, where you can say, I need to see destination quantity this way, origination quantity this way. So normally you would only want to be able to move what you can move from here. So if this becomes what it is I'm going to move, then it works a lot like I can select this and then I can create a transfer order, not a purchase order. So here we're going to generate a transfer order to move it from my Texas warehouse to my Amazon. And this is an internal order movement, not a real Amazon shipment plan. So remember this. This is an internal to your warehouse, move it from your warehouse to FBA. So the purpose of this is now you've created a transfer order. A transfer order, if you haven't used one before, operates a lot like a sales order, but you're not selling it, you're moving it. So I've created this transfer order. It is putting itself in as I need to get it from my Texas location. It needs to get to Amazon. And what you would then do is review what it is you're moving. If you want to adjust these quantities, you can adjust this back and say, yeah, I'm really only going to send 3,500 up. I can adjust this quantity before we do it. I can save this change. I can print this transfer order out. I can print it with a barcode. So if you're using our barcode scanner, pay attention here. I'm creating a transfer order to move stuff from my warehouse to FBA. So this is telling your warehouse people, I've got a transfer order. I got an order number. Make sense? And then let's go back up here. Now, this is not a real order yet. Why is it not a real order yet? Has it pulled the product from availability in my local warehouse? The answer is no, not yet. Why has it not? Because you need to change the status to draft. So a couple of things. Let's edit this. Let's put a designated day I want this to go out of the warehouse. So I'm going to use an estimated ship date out of my warehouse. So today's the 24th. Maybe I'll say tomorrow. You need to get this going out by tomorrow. That sort of thing. So I want you to think about these things. Let's commit this. So at the moment that you commit this order, we are reserving 3,500 of the yellow shirt in the local warehouse, if that makes sense. So that's what committing would do. So as soon as I commit it, then you need to realize, okay, this is where it's going to show up down here. And notice that the transfer is showing up here. So I've got the transfer that we just did on this demo right here. And this is moving product. It needs to move product. Because it's committed, it's got an ESD, estimated ship date, and there's the order number, and it is reserving. So this 3,500 that we want to move out of our local warehouse is showing up as a reservation against the warehouse. So you notice that it's causing a drag on the available number of the Texas warehouse. So it would be reserving at the Texas warehouse. But it'll do that only until you commit it. So normally the next function would be for you to go pick it, pack it, and get it going to Amazon. And that would be the function that you could do. You could do that manually. You can take the sheet, have your people execute it, and then get it going to FBA. If you're doing total automation with Finale and the FBA features, Finale would, one workflow is you execute this transfer order. You can actually use the scanner. So I could use the scanner and I can pick and pack this order to go out of my warehouse and get it on its way to get it going to Amazon. And that's here in the transfer menu. I can transfer, I can pick a transfer order to go out of my warehouse, scan every item out of my warehouse, and it asks me for the order. And from here, I could scan the order ID and it will pull that order up and say, you need to go to A008 and you need to get 3,500 yellow t-shirts going out to the warehouse. So you would then scan this, pick it, pack it, and it goes out of your warehouse is the workflow, right? So this will get it going out of the warehouse. Now, the way that this is intended to work, if you're familiar with our new Amazon features, is the way this technically would work is you scan it out of your local warehouse and it goes to an FBA prep zone. And an FBA prep zone is an internal location to your warehouse specifically for FBA. And so it moves it out of your local warehouse to the FBA prep zone when your people scan it and pick it out of the warehouse. Then when the shipment plan is created in Amazon's backend, so when an Amazon shipment plan goes live, that shipment plan will be configured to pull out of the FBA prep zone. And that's how it empties out of the FBA prep zone and it goes to what is called the Amazon inbound and shipped inbound. So that's a real quick walkthrough of the replenishment functionality, and I'm sure people have questions.
Yes, thanks so much, Mike, for walking us through some of the highlights of the replenishment feature. We have a few interesting questions. I'll kind of start from the top. Lucas says we have thousands of products. How can we add multiple different types of products from the origin to the destination without creating a large number of transfer orders? And how can we customize the transfer amount as it will be different for every transfer?
Right. So let me see if I understand. So you had basically said, hey, we need to move, hundreds or thousands of products to transfer, right? Now, the way this is intended is that we're computing what you need to transfer. And we do that based on reorder points and all kinds of stuff. Now, you didn't see thousands of them in my account, but if you had thousands, if they were running low, they would automatically show up here. But you can expose every product however you want to do, and it would open up everything. So then if you want to filter to say, okay, this might be showing me 30,000 products. Well, maybe I don't want to move all of them. Maybe there's a category or a manufacturer or whatever it is you want to do. Now you start deploying the category filters. Like I just want to, move my t-shirts. Does this make sense? So you can use the filtration on the screen to then narrow down what it is you want to move. I could have hundreds of products here. Then you can hit select all of them and then create a transfer to move them. Hopefully that answers that question. And then as far as the amount that you're transferring, we're computing that based on mins and maxes that you establish or based on the sales velocity. That's where those quantities come from. But if there's no quantity here being computed because you're not using reorder points or you didn't do mins and maxes and you just want to upload, this is what I want to transfer, well, then you can select all these. You can create the transfer. When you create this transfer, you're going to have nothing but a bunch of zeros, right? So it's not saying what to transfer, but you could import from a spreadsheet all those SKUs. You could create a transfer order, you can create a replenishment order not from our screen, but you could upload it from a spreadsheet, and that would be SKU and quantity, and you would have a replenishment order just like that.
Great, thanks. Let's go to the next question. Warren asks, can replenishment transfer orders be exposed via API interface to my warehouse management system? I mean, export or expose via API interface.
Everything in Finale is exposed to the API. So if you have the API, if you have the ability to use the API, yes, they are already there. They have been there. They've been there from the beginning. And yes, if you know how to do web programming, you could access any of that information from the API.
Great, let's go another one. Do you pick a transfer order or is there a special selection on the scanner?
You normally, if you're using the scanner and you want to use a scanner, yes, you would scan them and pick them and pack them just like you would a sale going out of your warehouse. And that feature is in not the pick menu because pick is reserved for selling only, but the transfer order for picking this transfer order here, if you wanted to pick this, you go to the more transfer. It's a transfer order, and there's an option there to pick a transfer order. You can pick transfer orders just like you pick sales orders. If you don't see this on your scanner, it's because you're running an outdated version of the scanner software. And then if you say, well, what version? How do I know? Just remember, if you're here on the main menu, you can go to more, 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 more. It will tell you the version number up here. So my scanner is running version 12194. And the pick transfers came out probably about 12191 or 92, somewhere in there. So you might be on a very old version. If you're on an old version, how do you get the new version? Go to the Google Play Store and make sure you update from the Google Play Store and pull down the latest version of our app from the Google Play Store.
Great. Let's do one more replenishment question, and then we're going to hop back to reordering. So, will replenishment contribute to source consumption?
So, good question. Somebody's really dissecting it. So, a replenishment, the act that you moved product from your warehouse to Amazon, it reserves inventory in your warehouse before you do the transfer. It pulls it out when you pick it and when you ship it out. That's all true, but it does not contribute to Finale's internal metrics as if you consumed it. It's not a sale. So it doesn't add to the sales velocity. It only adds to the product disappeared. It's no longer in inventory. So think about maybe what you're asking there is you're replenishing from your warehouse. So you move a bulk amount of material from here to a third party, but we should be watching the sales of the product at the third party. So we're going to pick up the sales velocity when it sells out of that other warehouse. You wouldn't want to count it twice, if that makes sense.
Great. Let's revisit the topic of the reorder screen, the new reorder capabilities. I saw Trisha had a few questions in related relation to BOMs, BOMs, bill of materials. Let's talk about BOMs and how that relates to reordering. Are you able to adjust the reorder view to see the BOMs? Are you able to adjust the reorder view to see the BOMs? In addition, are you able to see the BOMs order specific to BOMs? So, can we talk more about BOMs and reordering for a moment?
Yeah. So the answer is no, all the way around. So the screen right now, reordering in Finale, even the old screen and the new screens, when you're ordering a SKU, a specific SKU. So if you were to, even if you could see, like if I'm on the reorder screen and if this object had a bill of material, the function of the screen is basically if you see a part number here, it's designed to be addressing this part number, not the parts inside of it. So if the parts inside of it are part of a kit or a bundle, then those kit or bundled or component items are going to be on the screen as components. And if their inventory is low, they will show up on the reorder screen, but they're not going to be saying There is no ability yet on these screens to be intelligent and say, "Oh, I'm showing you a bunch of kits. Do you want me to, reorder based on the components in the kit?" It doesn't work that way, and we're not paying attention to yet from like when you assemble a bunch of kits and considering that consumption. Good question.
Great. And we have a few questions related to sales velocity in both topics, reordering and replenishment. Can we talk a moment about sales velocity? For example, is there a way to export sales and the velocity of items by warehouse in Excel?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. So to export sales velocity by warehouse, there's a bunch of different ways you could do that. The new reorder screen has an export button on it, which is awesome. That means that you could, leave this screen kind of wide open, make it all quantity, remove any filtration here, choose your warehouse, and we're showing you the Texas velocities, right? So all this data that's showing up here, either positive or negatively, then you could hit the export button and then it would go out to an Excel sheet. When you see it go out, like I'll just do it so everybody can see that I can go straight to an Excel sheet and it will basically flatten all that data and you will be able to see, as you can see on my screen here, it's got the products, it's got all this in here. The 7-day velocity, 14-day, 30-day velocities are all in here. So all the data that was on the reorder screen, easily get it out to Excel so you can do other things. But there is more that you could do to answer that question. You could always go to the report system. You could go to the stock system and you could get to reorder based reports where you could design and to decide which warehouse numbers you want to export. So if you want to look at reorder velocities, right here, then you could filter to any specific location like Florida. And I only want to see Florida and I want to see where the variance is less than zero, or I want to see everything. And then I can export that. And I'm only exporting one warehouse worth. So, yes, there's a way to do it.
Great. Thanks so much for answering those questions, Mike. We're going to wrap things up. I wanted to thank everyone for coming today and joining us. We hope you found value in these new updates that we worked so hard on. Again, if you are a current Finale user, you can schedule a personal training session to learn more about these tools and how they can be tailored to your specific business with the link that I put down below in the comments. If you're not a current Finale user, sign up for a demo on our site to talk to one of our experts. Thanks so much and have a great day.